What's up guys, I'm Chase Brogan. Today in this video we're diving into the RG43V Pro, a plug and play handheld game console right here, which has a 4.3 inch IPS screen. We also have a mini HDMI port on here, so you can actually connect this over to your TV if you wanted to and play along on a bigger screen. You don't have to just use this as a handheld, but we've got some really cool controls built right into this. We're going to dive into this in depth today in this video. We'll unbox it, we'll take a look at the layout and design. We'll also tour through all the games that are pre-installed on here because this comes with 5,000 games right out of the box here, all retro titles. So we got to see exactly what games are included, what collections are included. We're going to do all that in this video. Let's get started. All right, guys, so we've got our RG43V Pro handheld game console right here. We're going to start opening this up. Really like the packaging on this. I love the cover of the box. It looks really on point here. It also walks through a lot of the features over here in terms of specs and different offerings. Now, opening this up, we've got our user manual right here, which we're just going to take a quick glance at. Walks through the entire layout. It also shows you the specs on here and walks you through as well how you go about navigating your way through things, turning it on, turning it off, shortcut functions, charging, all that good stuff. So we'll set this aside. We also get a screen protector as well. So we have a screen protector inside here. We also have the wipes, which are both wet and dry, so you can actually prep your screen before applying this. Here is the actual unit itself. We're going to set that aside just for a moment. We've got our USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Obviously, USB-A end is going to go into like a laptop power bank or just a power outlet. Type-C is going to plug directly into the unit to actually provide the charge. So let's dive right into our handheld itself. Wow, this looks really sharp. Very nice design of this. This does not feel cheap at all. This feels like a pretty solid handheld. I love the screen right here. This is a 4.3 inch IPS screen up here. We do have a screen protector on here, which I'm going to peel off. I can't wait to actually test this out though. This looks incredible. Now we have a start button over here. We have our select button. We have our function button located right here in the center. Dual analog sticks. Once we power this on, there are RGB lights built into the base right here as well. So those are going to light up. Really nice D-pad. Now take a look at the D-pad from the side angle. You can see this is raised very nicely. And let me tell you guys, I'm not even powering this on yet. And this is the best D-pad that I've seen on a handheld in a very long time. I love the action on here. I love the fact that it's not recessed in. A lot of D-pads end up being flush with the actual control deck. This is raised up considerably, and the action on there just feels great. I hope it turns out to be great in-game as well, but so far so good. We have the button functions built into both dual analog sticks. We also have A, B, X, and Y. I'm wondering if that's going to light up. I don't think it does light up, though. I don't think these are backlit buttons, but really nice action on there as well. They're also raised. You can see the contrast against my finger, I think, right there. A little bit hard to see because it's black on black, but definitely raised buttons. My fingers automatically align with the R1, R2, L1, and L2 shoulder and trigger buttons on the back side. We have some what I always call cheeks back here that you can just kind of grip onto. And I'll show you guys the back side. Your fingers just kind of line up right along the edge right there. It gives you nice stability, but take a look how my fingers just instantly align right where they need to. And to shift from shoulder to triggers, it's very simple. You're just sliding those over. You can engage in both spots. So really nice and precise there. I also like the fact that they're not perfectly level. There's a lot of handhelds where your shoulder and trigger buttons are going to be in a perfect line. I like that these are staggered, and they're actually on like a sculpted sort of arc on here. So really a big fan of that. Over here we have our power button as well as our reset button. Other side is going to have our external volume controls, which is super important with anything emulation based because different emulators and different era games are going to have all different volume levels. So it's nice to be able to make your adjustments externally rather than having to navigate into your internal settings and make adjustments as you go. Now up here at the top, we have some additional ports. We have our audio jack cable connection. So if you want to plug headphones in, you can easily do that. We have our Type-C DC power supply cable connection right there. That's where we're going to bring in our power cable to actually charge this. We also have a mini HDMI port on here. So you can do a mini HDMI to regular HDMI and actually play this on a big screen TV if you wanted to. And last but certainly not least is our TF card slot right over here. This is where your micro SD card is going to be located. In fact, we're going to eject this before we power it on. This is 64 gigabytes, which definitely isn't massive, but This is where all your games and software is going to be located. We also have a speaker located right here on our control deck. That's super important because a lot of handhelds actually have speakers like in the corners or on the back side, which never made any sense to me because you're going to obstruct the sound quality, with your hands, and you're going to muffle the sound at the very least. This is a central location, so I think that's going to give us a great, audio experience on here. Now there's one more thing that I overlooked, and it's our kickstand located right here in the back. I actually thought this was going to be a spot where we could put batteries, but nope, it's a kickstand. Take a look at this. We can sit this just like so. You can leave this on if you're working on your games or you're making adjustments or you're scraping anything. You can leave this just like this. You're probably not going to play it upright like that, but it is nice to have a way to just kind of set this on your desk when you're not gaming on here, even if it's powered on. So we're going to go ahead and do exactly that. We're going to power it on right here. Let's see what this has for us. All right, guys, so as we go in here, I'm going to actually leave this on the kickstand right now. Look at those RGB lights that start to populate in right behind our dual analog sticks. Now, all games list, we've got 5,000 games on here. All games list, though, is going to be your master list. If we go ahead and we hit our A button, it goes directly into that. And you can see we have all of our titles listed on the left-hand side. Just so we don't have this little sound as I go down each and every title, I'm going to turn the volume all the way down. And I love the fact that we can do that externally on here. We don't have to go into our sound settings within. We can just simply click that right there. And now as I go down, we don't have that little ticking sort of sound. So some of these titles are scraped. When I say scraped, I mean that we have the title, the logo, we have the box art on here. Some of these, like this one right here for FB Neo, there's nothing scraped. So we just are going off the text list for certain titles. Other ones are going to populate in here. This one actually has a load screen. So a little inconsistent. This one just has a screenshot from the game. They're kind of all over the place, but it gives you something to start with at least. So we're going to go and hit the B button to back out. Now we have individual collections. This right here is our favorites list. This is going to be a collection. You see it has 0 games in there. This is a collection that you set up yourself. So if you want to add in your favorite titles for easy access, you simply go ahead and add them in here. I'll show you guys how to do that, in fact. So we'll go over to the next one. This is Amstrad CPC, 27 games located in here. Got to say though, before we jump in, I love the screen size. 4.3-inch IPS screen, and man, is it vibrant. And remember, this is a video of a video screen, so we're losing a little bit of the quality here just in the capturing process, but in person, this looks incredible. So we'll go into Amstrad CPC. Looks like everything is scraped within here, meaning we have logo, we have a screenshot from the gameplay experience, we even have our box art over here. So it just gives you a little something else to choose from rather than just simply a text list on the left-hand side. Nice thing though is because we're in the Amstrad CPC collection, we don't have to worry about it having, it listing the console collection that it belongs to. Everything in here is Amstrad CPC. So in parentheses, it tells you the release that it is. So for Gauntlet 2, for example, let's highlight Gauntlet 2. This is the US version, and it even tells you the year that some of these titles were released, like Jet Set Willy, 1985, and this is the UK release. So we'll back out of this one. We have Final Burn Neo over here, 1,209 games in Final Burn Neo. This is obviously a great place to find arcade titles, and it looks like they're pretty consistently scraped here. Some of the scraping is a little wonky, I'm not going to lie. But, and the other thing worth mentioning is the titles on here are actually the file names. So, it does give you a little bit of trouble there. You kind of have to look at this side to figure out exactly what everything is, but still nicely laid out in terms of what it offers at least. So we'll back out of this collection. Let me set this back down. Next up, we have MAME right over here with 1,484 games. If we jump in here, these are going to be the file names as well, not the typed out, clean names. Like 720, for example, is 720 degrees. This is a great skateboarding game. But yeah, it can be a little bit hard. Like A Burner is Afterburner. A Burner 2 over here is Afterburner 2. But because at least we get the logos on the right-hand side, it makes it so it's not impossible to find what you're looking for. But in a perfect world, I'd like it to say, the title names here instead of just the file names. Alien 3 The Gun, this is obviously a rail shooter or light gun game. More rail shooter than light gun. But you can see there's a little crosshairs icon on the text list there. So that's an indication that, hey, this is a game that you would use with, or it's a shooting game, or it's a game, a light gun specific game. So Little things like this one right here, American Speedway, is a racing game, so we get a little car icon next to it. So it's definitely put together in a nice way. And I'll show you guys how to add your favorite games to the favorites list. So let me find a game that I'm really into. Matter of fact, let's go to our select button here. We're going to go to this jump to, and this is where we'll hit W. So we'll move to W, we'll hit A. It brings us right down to the W titles. So now I can see if we have WrestleFest in here. Just a way to kind of speed up the process, looking for, what you're looking to find. So we have not only WrestleFest, but we have WrestleMania. There's WrestleFest. We don't have Superstars in here, but that's all right. So WrestleFest, by far one of my favorite games. We're going to hold down the A button. This little menu pops up over here, and then we're going to go to Add to Favorites. We just simply select that. It confirms across the top. And now if we back out of this collection and we navigate to Favorites, there's our game located in there for easy access. So just a quick little tutorial for you guys as we're combing through this. Next collection is Atari 2600 with 31 games. You can see this is just going to give you a text list, it looks like. Nothing is scraped over here on that side. So a little inconsistent collection by collection, but as long as the games work, that's really all that matters. And with 64 gigabytes being our card capacity, it's going to definitely limit how many titles can actually be scraped on here, because all that extra data, photos, logos, etc., does take up space. Backing out, next collection is Capcom Play System 1, 32 games in here. These do appear to be scraped, and it's a good size image over there as well, which is very cool to see. So some of my favorite games like Mega Man, the Power Battle is a cool one. Punisher, though, would definitely be my favorite, and that's located in here. We'll jump into some of these games at the tail end of this video to test everything out. But 32 games in there. Capcom System 2 is going to be the next one with 36 games. Same sort of deal. Once you get in here, you can see how all these titles populate in. This is the ideal way to put all the data, in my opinion. I like how polished this collection is. The only criticism I have for the setup is, again, we have the file names here instead of the typed out titles. Next one's going to be Capcom Play System 3. This only has 4 games in here. So these are not scraped either. So again, very inconsistent collection by collection. But when they do it right, like we saw over here, it's definitely put together in a very easy way to navigate, like Marvel Superheroes, for example. Very easy to find what you're looking for. So we'll back out once again. We'll go over to Setup. This is going to be just a place where you go in here and you can access your file manager. You can do a bunch of different things. You can access your send logs, all that good stuff. You can go in here for your Wi-Fi settings as well. I see Wi-Fi down here at the bottom. YouTube search even, so you'd have to connect over to Wi-Fi, obviously, to access a lot of this stuff, but still very nice to go in here and customize your experience. Honestly, I would do exactly that too. Nothing against the card that comes in here preloaded. It gets you started, but I think you're definitely going to want to expand upon this, and at the very least, scrape it a little better than it's currently scraped. Next collection over is PC Engine, 334 games inside here. Again, nothing scraped, but at least we have the typed out titles over here to choose from. We'll back out. We've got NES now with 96 games. Now I'm interested to see, it looks like these are abbreviated too, but I'm interested to see, do we have any Mario titles? So let's go up here. I don't see Super Mario in here. We only have Super Fight. Super Mario would be, right around here. So it does appear that we are missing, those Nintendo IP specific games like Donkey Kong, the Kirby titles probably are not on here. Mario definitely isn't on here. You would have seen it already. So you will have to source those yourselves, but at least it gets you started with up to 5,000 games here. So we'll back out. We've got Sega SG-1000 with 63 games. Nothing scraped here either, but all the titles are typed out easily. Next collection over is Sega Game Gear with 244 games. We'll go in here. Now this is scraped. So this collection right here is exactly how, in my opinion, all of them should be. We have typed out titles over here on the left. We've got our logo, screenshot, and our cover art here. We even have a little picture of the actual game cartridge for Game Gear. So yeah, so far this is the best collection, just the most polished and nicely laid out. Ideally, as I said, this is how every collection should be populating in. But they definitely took some shortcuts, and that's due probably to the fact that the provided SD card, once again, is only 64 gigabytes. If it was like a 256 gigabyte, all this could be scraped. It could even be scraped with videos. We'll back out. We've got Sega Mega Drive here, 1,024 games. We'll jump into this one. And let's see if we have Sonic in here. We know that the Mario titles aren't in here. Oh, nice. We have the Young Indiana Jones games. We've got X-Men. We've got some WWF titles in here as well. Raw, Royal Rumble, Super WrestleMania, WrestleMania the arcade game, which appears to be in here twice. There's probably two different versions. But let's go to select. Let's go to that jump to, and we'll go to T and work our way up. So T2, the arcade game, is in here. But do we have Sonic the Hedgehog, which would be the game that I want to play most in this collection? So hopefully we have it. We do. Excellent. We've got all the Sonic games here, all the different versions, Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, lots of great Sonic titles. We even have 3D Blast in here. Very cool. All right, we'll back out. We've got Sega Mega Drive 32X with 20 games now. You can see inside here, this one is not scraped, but again, we do have the list of titles over here, and it is nicely put together. Star Wars Arcade in here, another great title. All right, so Dreamcast, only 5 games in Dreamcast, and it's Crazy Taxi 2, Dead or Alive 2, Giga Wing 2, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Interesting that they put all the sequels in here, except for Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Just kind of a weird selection, but all great games. I'm a fan of each of these titles, so I'd love to see more than just 5 games. We'll definitely jump in here to test out performance. I want to see how this specific chip handles Dreamcast. I think it'll be a good experience, but we have to check it out. Let's back out. Next over here is Neo Geo with 300 games. This is where you're going to find your Metal Slug titles. 2020 Super Baseball is another great one. There's multiple sets for that one as well. But let's make sure that we do in fact have Metal Slug, because that's a game, or a franchise I should say, that I can't be without. And there they are. There's the Metal Slug titles right there. So we'll definitely check these out in the demo portion of this video. Backing out though, we have Neo Geo Pocket with 43 games. We have PlayStation with 20 games. 23 games for original PlayStation. Let's check this out. Nothing scraped here as well, but we've got some Capcom versus SNK. We got some Castlevania. We got some Crash Bandicoot in here. We've got Crash Team Racing, one of my favorites. We got Double Dragon. Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. We got Marvel versus Capcom. We've got Mortal Kombat. We've got Ridge Racer. We got Tekken 3, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Lots of great titles inside here. We've got PSP with 25 games. Let's see what we have inside here. Nothing scraped, in this collection either, but some FIFA Street. We've got some God of War in here, Chains of Olympus, which is good. Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. We've got some Metal Slug. We've got some Mega Man. We've got Soul Calibur, Broken Destiny, which is a great game. We've got WWE SmackDown vs. Raw, 2009, there it goes. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max, definitely some good stuff. Moving on, we are back to where we started at the All Games list, so now it's time to dive into some of our favorite titles. Check out the performance right here on the RG43V Pro Handheld console. Alright guys, we jumped into the RG43V Pro right here, and man do I love this handheld. I think it's priced right first and foremost. There's a lot of handhelds out there that are just too expensive. This is 110 bucks off Amazon right here, right now at the time of this recording. If you get it direct from the actual makers here, AISLPC, you can get it for a little bit less than that. But honestly, Amazon's probably your best bet just because it's going to come very quickly. So 110 bucks or, maybe a little bit less depending on where you're sourcing it from. I think it makes perfect sense for what you get here. In terms of a processor, I'll read it right off the box here. We've got the RK3562 quad-core processor. That's going to give you the ability to jump into Dreamcast, PlayStation, PSP. You could probably even push it beyond that. Those are just the highest, console collections that come preloaded on here. Again, 5,000 games at your fingertips. Now, in terms of the layout of those 5,000 games, I'm not crazy about it. I think it's a little bit sloppy. We went through all the collections in this video. You guys can see for yourself, a lot of the scraped data is missing. That's probably because they started to run out of space on the SD card. We only have a 64 gigabyte SD card on this version. They do have some larger capacity options as well. I saw a 128 gigabyte version on the website, so you could get that, which will have even more games. What I would honestly do is I would take this, I would probably create my own image for it, to be perfectly honest, like make my own 128 gigabyte version or even 256 gigabyte version and just pull all the ROMs that they provided for us and just simply dump those onto the new, expanded version. You could then add your own favorite games on there. We jumped into Dreamcast. There's only 5 titles for Dreamcast, and because the performance is so good with Dreamcast titles, it honestly leaves me wanting to play some of my favorite games like Hydro Thunder, Gauntlet Legends, for example. There's so many great Dreamcast games, and the 5 games they've provided are absolutely phenomenal, but I just want more of them. And the only way to do that is to expand upon that storage capacity. So 64 gigabytes gets you started. 128 or 256 would be way better in my opinion. But let's talk about the controls on here. I love the D-pad. I'm super picky about D-pads. I like a nice raised D-pad that's easy to navigate with. That's exactly what we have built into the control deck here on the RG43V. We also have dual analog sticks. I like the RGB lighting that is right behind those as well. Do they have any impact on performance? Definitely not, but they look really cool, and that's nice to see. We have the 4-button configuration, A, B, X, and Y. They're nice raised and responsive buttons on here. We also have the kickstand on the back here, which opens up very nicely when you want to just click it back into place and keep it tight back there. You can easily do that. Really nicely balanced on the backside. Honestly, for the games we're playing, I'm not using the shoulder and trigger buttons all that much, but when I do, it's very much responsive and they're super comfortable. It also creates a very well-balanced setup here as well. My hands just instantly, without even thinking about it, go exactly where they need to on here, to where I'm not kind of fighting with myself when I do need to hit those buttons. You can see how effortless all that is. They're very responsive as well. Now we of course have to talk about the picture quality. We've got a 4.3-inch IPS screen, and picture quality is phenomenal, especially for these retro games. 4K obviously would be nice, but we don't need 4K for retro. There's just really no point to that. So love what this offers. I got to talk about the audio though. I highlighted for you guys where the speaker is located. I think it's a prime location. The only downside, and I do like the fact that we can externally adjust the volume on here as well with the buttons on the side. The downside though is it just doesn't get super loud. So I did find myself kind of with some of the emulators used, struggling to hear what was going on in games. Like WrestleFest, for example, was very low volume. There's some titles that are super loud, but a lot of them are really low. So that's one thing that I'll highlight in a, somewhat of a negative way, is the volume has its limitations here. It just doesn't get super loud and immersive. Other than that though, everything else is extremely well thought out, even the HDMI output on here, so you can get this up and running on a big screen TV if you wanted to. So you could, with a really long cable of course, you could be sitting on your couch playing along on a 65-inch screen TV, just as an example. So big fan of the capabilities that this offers. I think the price point is on point as well, but I definitely would want to expand upon that 64 gigabytes as I mentioned, make it a little bit bigger, make it include a lot more games, and you can do all of that. This also doesn't have your Nintendo IP on here, so there's no Mario, there's no Kirby, there's no Zelda, there's no Donkey Kong. You're going to have to source those games yourself for NES, for example. So very easy to do that, but it is something worth mentioning here. You don't come, preloaded with those titles on here. There's just about everything else, including Sonic the Hedgehog, though. So great price point, really nice layout here. The only thing I'm critical of, honestly, is the volume. It has its limitations there. But that's going to do it for this video. To learn more about this product, click the links in the description of this video. That's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one.